Delicious orange creamsicle cake bars.
Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Hello everyone, this recipe is inspired by Tasty Cake Candy Cake Summer Orange Cream, which are described as white confectionery coated cakes with orange cream filling. First thing we're going to do is make the cake part. You start off with 4 large eggs, add in 2 cups of white granulated sugar, and you're going to beat that with an electric mixer or by hand until your mixture gets to a very pale, light lemon yellow, and it gets a lot fluffier. Now this cake recipe is the same one that I used when I made the grandma's tandy cakes with the peanut butter and the chocolate. Now you add in 1 cup of milk. Blend that in and then add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and then finally 2 cups of oat. Once your batter is combined, it'll be a fairly runny cake batter. You're going to pour it into a baking dish. I'm using a 12 by 17 inch jelly roll style pan. I've lined it with parchment paper. You can make your cake a lot thicker if you want to use a smaller pan, but I thought this jelly roll pan made the perfect thickness for these bars. Put your batter in there, spread it out, bake it at 350 degrees until the cake is golden brown and a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Once your cake is done baking, take it out of the pan and allow it to cool to room temperature. I then put mine in the freezer just to chill it up a little bit. While I was doing that, I decided to make some frosting. This is plain old buttercream frosting, starting off with about 3/4 of a cup of butter that's softened to room temperature. Now the Tasty Cakes say that it has an orange flavored cream. Now to get that artificial orange flavor, I decided to add an envelope of orange sugar-free jello to this, which would give it that kind of an artificially orange flavor. I blended that in, and then I added in about 4 cups of powdered sugar, a little bit at a time, and then I added about 2 teaspoons of milk to this. And I kind of did it alternately, milk and powdered sugar, until I ended up with enough frosting, and a frosting that had the texture that I liked, which is of spreadable consistency and something that's really nice and light and fluffy. And then I gave it a little bit of a taste and decided it wasn't quite orange enough, so I added some orange extract to this, about a teaspoon or so of orange extract I added, and then blended it in, and I tasted it again and I thought it had a nice orange flavor. And then finally, to boost the color a little bit, I added a couple of drops of orange paste food coloring. This is completely optional. You don't have to add the artificial color if you don't want to. I just like the orange color it made. Here's that cake that I've allowed to cool completely. And I decided that I was only going to make half a batch of these, so I cut this cake in half. The other half I wrapped it up and put it in the freezer, and I'm going to use it for something else some other time. So this jelly roll sized cake, if you cut it in half, 1/2 fits almost perfectly into a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. So I was just testing out the size here, and it fit perfectly. So I lined that baking dish with some waxed paper, and then I added a layer of melted white chocolate. Now full disclosure here, I didn't have a lot of white chocolate in my house, but I did have quite a few white candy melts. So I mixed the white chocolate with the candy melt, and basically they taste about the same. I used about 2 cups of melted white chocolate candy melt mixture in the bottom of this pan, and I just spread it around. Now you can make as thin or as thick of a layer as you'd like in the bottom here. I just put it in the bottom, spread it around until it was more or less even, and then all you have to do is take that cake and you're going to drop it in right on top of that, right on top of the white chocolate. And if you get some on the edges, that's okay, because that's actually better. So I just popped it in there, and then I pushed down gently just to make sure that there was a good contact between the white chocolate and the cake. And then I'm adding a layer of frosting, which is like orange cream filling if you want to call it, on there. I didn't use all of the orange frosting that I made. I used about 3/4 of it, and then I put about 1/4 of it in the freezer to use another time. I put about a 1/2 inch of that creamy frosting on the top of this cake, and I spread it out as evenly as I could all the way around. And then I took this whole thing and I put it in the freezer to chill it thoroughly, just so that when we add another layer of white chocolate on top, that it's not going to melt that frosting. I didn't freeze it completely, I just chilled it thoroughly. And once it was chilled, I added more white chocolate on top. Again, I'd say there's probably about 2 cups of melted white chocolate that I used for the top part of it. Poured it on and then just spread it as evenly as you can. And I gave the pan a little shake just to even it out and get some of the air bubbles out. And then you just let it set. I put mine in the fridge just so it would cool a bit faster. Here it is, cooled, and the white chocolate is set. And with that wax paper, it comes out of the pan just lovely, beautifully and easily. And you just peel down the sides of your wax paper. And if your wax paper hasn't folded too much, it shouldn't catch too much in the cake or the white chocolate. I had a little bit of problem on the corner there. And then you just cut into it and make it into bars. Now I'm using a sharp knife, and I kind of just gently went through the topping because you don't want to crack it. You just kind of want to go through it. And then once you're through, you can just slice down firmly right to the bottom. I made these kind of long bars first, and then I lifted that off of the wax paper, and then I cut them into smaller pieces after that. Just like that. And these can be stored at room temperature, or you can keep them in the refrigerator if you like. And here are the completed orange creamsicle cake bars. Now I have no idea if they taste anything like the commercially available candy cakes that I showed you at the beginning of the video or not. I did bring these into my former workplace just to visit with everybody and bring them some treats. And everyone who tried them loved them. They said they tasted remarkably like those orange creamsicle ice cream bars. So when you bite into these, you have kind of a little bit of a crunch from the white chocolate on the top, a really nice bright orange flavor from that filling, and then a really nice kind of a moist, plain but delicious sponge, kind of a sponge cake in the middle. These were a winner. Hope you give these a try. I have made peanut butter and chocolate candy cakes in a previous video, so if you want to see these, you can go ahead and click right on your screen and look for the link in the description box below. And as per usual, thank you so much for watching.